All right, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back in, thank you. I've got another 25 books back from CGC, though not in person, as you can see. I've got, this was a submission I thought was going to be more of a recouping submission, just to try and get some of my money back on some of these books, but there have been some great results, which I'm looking forward to talking about here. So, with these books, they are going to consignor in the US. I'll be alternating big submissions where they come back to me, where they go straight to the consignor, just to see how they work. There is an extra risk with me having them shipped back to Australia than having to ship them again overseas for the ones that didn't sell. So I'm just trying a bit of a different process here. There are a few books in here that will be going to my PC, so they'll be getting sent back to me by the consignor. But without any further ado, let's get stuck into it. So what I'm going to do is what I always do, except I'm going to split this into 3 videos instead of 2. So we're going to do 8 today, 8 with the next one, and 9 with the last, just to see how it goes. Keep the videos maybe around 10 minutes and see how that feels. So I'll go through every book, as I always do, and I will tell you what I did to it. I will tell you how much it cost me, and I will tell you what my expectations were, and then we'll do a reveal and see how we go. So let's kick off with Amazing Spider-Man 140 from 1975. With this one, I bought it for $50, so I paid a fair bit, but it's a bit of a classic book. It's a first appearance. I think it's a minor appearance, maybe Gloria Grant. I don't have it in front of me to know for sure. Had a lot of finger bends, needed a fair bit of work, and there was a lot of tanning on the back cover, on the inside and the outside of it. I removed all that, and then I had to work the spine fairly significantly looking at my notes. But on the back cover, on the top right, there was some sort of scratches or some scuffing, which I thought was going to hold it back. That was really going to be the main thing. I was expecting to get about a 9.2, so that's all right. I probably paid a bit too much for the book in the end, because it looked pretty good. Just came back with those little scuffs on the back. So CGC expecting 9.2 and got 9.4. All right, that's pretty good. One bump higher than I was expecting, and the greater notes are spine stress lines, which there were a few, and scuff on the right top of the back cover, which is exactly the area that I knew was going to be a problem. So that's all right. Let's move on to Amazing Spider-Man 328. So classic McFarlane, the last book he worked on Amazing Spider-Man. One of my favorite covers. It's an iconic cover. I love this one. So this book cost me $36, pretty expensive, but it looked pretty good. I think it had one tick on the back staple. Oh yeah, and it had some tear. I had a little tear on the back cover near the bottom. I thought, oh, is this like an issue? But I had a look at a few others that were in 9.8, and it looks to be a manufacturing issue, possibly where the grabber for the sheet just tore it a bit. And I'll put a picture up for it so you can see what I mean. Yeah, I thought it presented beautifully otherwise. I sent a CGC expecting a 9.8 and got a 9.8, so that's great. So this is my first 9.8 in this book, would you believe? I've had a couple of times, haven't quite been able to nail it. So this is one that I'll be getting sent back to me to add to my PC until I maybe get a better looking copy of it, and then we'll see how I go. But I was pretty happy with that. So next, Amazing Spider-Man 361. Not a New Standard Edition, it's actually an Australian price variant. So I bought this and the next 2 books as a lot, so the price kind of reflects those. It presented well, and then when I got it, there are some nasty creases on the back cover that were really hard to see in the photos I'd seen, which was frustrating, but very clear. And I thought with those, because the rest of the book was pretty decent, as you can see, it looks nice. But those were significant issues, big long creases, and I'll put a picture up of them. I thought 7.5 was where it was going to max, so VF minus. But you know, it's an Australian price variant in an iconic book, in a very desirable cover. And I have had this one before, and I think it came back as a 9.0, but there was no way this was going to get a 9.0. So essentially, you see, expecting around a 7.5 and got 7. And I think that's fair. Let's have a look at the greater notes. Multiple crease on the left top of the back cover breaks color, and that's exactly it. And they are large, as you saw in the picture, and significant, which is disappointing. And I didn't mention it, sorry, the book cost me out of the lot $100. I spent $200 on the 3 books, but that was the primary reason why I bought it. So I think I'm going to make a loss on that one. I won't know until I sell it for sure, but the estimated value I've put in indicates a loss. So let's hope the next two make up for it. So moving on to Amazing Spider-Man 362 newsstand Australian price variant. And this one was in very decent condition. It had a very nasty finger bend on the front cover in the top mid, like it was deep, and I thought it was going to crease, but I worked it over quite a bit and seemed to reduce it. I don't think it creased. I worked it over, try and get all of those little issues out of it just to give it a maximum chance, because I think it had a great opportunity at a 9.8. I got it looking great, and I thought it was going to come back somewhere between 9.6 to 9.8. So a good chance at a 9.8, 50-50. So yeah, standard CGC, hopeful of a 9.8, expecting anyway 9.6, 9.8, and got 9.8. So that's great. Yeah, I allocated $60 out of the 200 for the lot to this one. And that's again, I'm not sure what it's going to sell for. I've put an estimated value. I think the last one sold for like $600 a year ago, but I've put it down for $350. And there are only 6, now 7 9.8s in the census for this in the Australian price variant. So I'm expecting this to attract a bit of attention in America. I'm hoping that it'll be a desirable book for someone to add to their collection at the top grade. So moving on to Amazing Spider-Man 363 Australian price variant. This was very similar to the other book, 362. Look clean. I've allocated $40 of the $200 in this, and I thought the back cover on the bottom left might have had a small crease, and there was a bit of rippling along the back cover on the top edge. Otherwise, it was pretty good. I gave this book a few presses just to really maximize opportunity. I don't come across this book in this grade, potential grade, very often. So I still think it was going to be a 9.6 to 9.8, really hoping for a 9.8, obviously. CGC, and they said 9.8, great outcome. And I believe, looking at the census, there are 3 9.6s, but there are no 9.8s. So this will be the first 9.8 appearing in the census. I think this will be, I've allocated some value to that. I don't know what it's going to go for. I just have to take an estimate. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I was disappointed with the 361 first Carnage, but the next two have made up for it, which is great. So moving on to the 6th book of the first 8, which is Batman 428. So this is from the Death of Robin series, and it's got it's black on the front, it's black on the back. So it's actually worth a fair bit the higher up in grade it goes, because it's hard to keep these immaculate. I thought it had a couple of light ticks, which were probably negligible, but on the back cover, all along the spine, I'll put up a picture. It had some rub and sort of some little bits of things. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and I thought there was a bit of a light crease with some finger bend, and I wasn't sure, depending how that rub was seen, it could be as low as a 9.0. I was just hoping it would come somewhere in the near mint range. It cost me $41 from a trusted seller, and yeah, I think I was expecting it. Yeah, 9 plus would be ideal, but 9.0. Standard CGC expecting 9, maybe 9.2, and got 9.8. Wow. So pretty happy with that. Yeah, I'll take it. It's quite a valuable book at a 9.8, and that rub along the spine must just be a standard issue that happens with some of these books that I wasn't aware of, but CGC obviously are. And that's important to note, and I think someone left a comment in one of the other videos saying that CGC can be a little bit inconsistent at times, and they definitely can be, because you've got all these different people doing their own interpretation on some of the grading, but there are some issues which are manufacturing and can be discounted, as they are in this case. So I'll take that. That's great. Moving on to Daredevil number 200, newsstand edition. So this book only cost me $9 from another seller I've featured before. There were some crunch ticks on the back cover, which I reduced, and I was hoping they'd be seen as negligible, if not minor. And there's a strange crease along the front cover on the bottom right, which you'll be able to see in the picture. I remember that one was a long one. It was a weird one. I didn't know if it was manufacturing or not. Couldn't see it on any other books. Anyway, so I was expecting a 9.2 question mark. So I really wasn't sure how that crease was going to be seen. Set at CGC, expecting around that range, and got 9.6. All right, so I'm happy with that. So a bit of a profit on that, which is nice, and probably a fair grade. And their grader notes are crease on the front cover. So they've treated that fairly long line as a crease, which is interesting, because if it was that line, then you'd think that it would be a bigger reduction, but that's okay. Moving on to the last book of the first part of the submission, which is Hulk #1 from 2008, the first appearance of the Red Hulk. So I bought this from a seller I've bought from before. It cost me $67. It was a beautiful copy and it looked beautiful, except there was a large tick near the bottom of the spine. I remember that on the left side, and I just wasn't sure if it was going to be enough to push it down a grade, certainly from 9.8 to 9.6. So set as CGC expecting 9.6 to 9.8, sort of a 50-50 hope, and received a 9.8. So that's great. So the first 8 books, I've had 5 9.8s. I wasn't expecting that many. In fact, I was expecting 5 for the whole submission. So that's really good. What a great start to the submission. Got the first 8 books. So the running profit loss is on the screen, and join me for the next video in a few days when I'll go through the next 8, and we'll see if this incredible run continues. Thanks for watching.